Columba livia, the rock pigeon or rock dove as they're more well known by, they were once domesticated and now litter our urban environments, presumed to be pests. Now that isn't entirely untrue, but not the focus of the study I have prepared for you today. Instead, I'll be talking about a distinct behavior I've observed about pigeons that I find particularly interesting. They are mostly indifferent to humans. Before we move on, I have 4 hypotheses related to the indifference towards humans exhibited in pigeons' behavior. Causational analysis proved to not be very well supported, but developmental, evolutionary, and functional analyses in my hypotheses do seem to be supported by Ryan, Bouchard, and Taylor's studies at separate points. Outside of the study, I have, and I'm sure others have as well, noticed that pigeons don't really care too much about humans being near them, and I have seen them walk into traffic without hesitation. In this study, I was at a square in downtown Savannah, and as noted in Taylor et al., birds are attracted to areas of fountains and green patches and trash bins in some semi-green urban environments, and this was no exception. So it was a great opportunistic area where many of the local bird populations flock to for the same resources: shade, access to water and food, and protection. It's also where a lot of people are. Now obviously these behaviors don't arise within a vacuum. Most of the animals that find themselves downtown often, or in the bustling parks around town, are used to humans and don't run away immediately. However, pigeons showed an exemplary indifference towards human presence. They even at times would walk directly up to me in search of food. That's how often they are fed by the other people in this area, or at least I presume. My 3 main sources for this behavior, Bouchard, Taylor, and Ryan, all were studying the human-wildlife conflict in different areas with a focus on mitigating the conflict from avian species, rock pigeons specifically in Ryan and Bouchard's case. And they all observed that human interaction had a role in this behavior developing. Rock pigeons, for reference, are feral animals as opposed to their wild avian counterparts, and this is because for a very long time humans bred pigeons as companions and to be homing birds, so they were bred with a job in mind and were often kept as pets. Unlike feral cats who retain a lot of their prey instinct and do pose a threat to wildlife when not in a domestic environment, pigeons are mostly now nuisances at best. They have a tendency to stay within urban environments and often feed off of the artificial food sources as opposed to seeking out further from their home to find food. This may contribute to their indifference towards humans as they don't like to fly very far from their homes, often staying within the same small area they're acquainted to. And they often reside in urban environments with high concentrations of people, but that's just a part of their environment. There is a little threat displayed from humans, and the bigger threat are cars, which should not be assumed to be equated to each other in the eyes of an animal, and even then pigeons don't really view cars as much of a threat either. They are largely free from threats when in an urban environment, which may lead to their lack of aversion to human presence in their space. That, coupled with their past domesticity, most likely evolved to this behavior. When they're not under a perceived threat, there's no reason to view it as such, especially when humans very commonly do feed pigeons, either indirectly or directly. Alice Ryan's thesis on pigeons and their behaviors within urban environments details that pigeons like to stay relatively in the same place for the majority of their time, and their habitat within urban environments largely shapes their behaviors. In our Cogbooks module about habitat selection and movement, we learned that animals will choose a place that is either beneficial through abundance, safety, and/or prime breeding grounds, and pigeons have found all those things within urban environments. Lack of predators, abundance of food from humans both direct and indirect, as well as the ability to use artificial structures for homes and breeding, has allowed pigeons to successfully turn such a green-lacking area into their perfect oasis, while also allowing them to expend as few resources of their own as possible. It is honestly a genius decision from a biological standpoint.